What do you think is one of the most powerful factors in inspiring change? The answer may be surprising to you, but before we get to that, I have a story that I want to tell you. There's this massive, powerful elephant lumbering down a trail, and to the right of the trail is a lake, and to the left of the trail is a jungle. And on the back of the elephant sits a man, a rider, whose job is to drive the elephant into the jungle and pull out fallen trees for lumber. All day long, the elephant will obediently do exactly what the rider wants it to do until it gets thirsty. And then it doesn't matter what the rider commands, the elephant will go to the water. Because when the elephant and the rider come into conflict, it's the elephant that wins. This metaphor was originally presented by John Haidt in his exceptional book, The Happiness Hypothesis, one of my favorites. In this metaphor, the rider is logic and the elephant is emotion. This simple analogy is grounded in neuroscience. The rider, our rational mind, lives in the neocortex, the newest structure of the brain, evolutionarily speaking. The rider is represented by one of the stars of the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex. It's common to think of the prefrontal cortex, and the rest of the neocortex for that matter, as the intelligent area of the brain. As a result, we're generally taught that if we want to persuade or drive change, we need to inform the neocortex about the logic of changing. We need to speak to the rider. But here's the thing. The data suggests otherwise. It turns out that the same properties that make the neocortex brilliant at handling straightforward decisions and analyses also makes it relatively slow and cumbersome. And this can be a huge liability in situations requiring quick, adaptive, or emotionally nuanced responses. And it often falls victim to paralysis by analysis. The studies on behavioral change, persuasion, motivation, they all point to the same truth. Emotions, the elephant, they're what make us move. We need the brain's subconscious supercomputer, and that is the limbic system, and this brings us back to the elephant. The elephant's ruled by the limbic system, the older, deeper part of the brain that includes structures like the amygdala and the hippocampus. This part of the brain is responsible for emotions and memory. The limbic system does most of its work below the level of conscious thought. The elephant pays attention to tone, inflection, body language. It's very keen on feeling what is being shared. This is why we often find ourselves drawn to certain choices without even understanding why. Just like the elephant instinctively seeks water, our limbic system directs us toward what we deeply desire or away from what we fear. And again, most of the time, it does this without explanation. I happen to think this is all fascinating, but how can we use the information? Let me give you an example that I heard recently on a podcast. The man telling the story, I'll call him John, was explaining that he had suffered from an unhealthy lifestyle for years. He regularly went to his doctor and he complained about aches and pains. John's doctor, for his part, regularly told John all the logic and the reasons why he should change his lifestyle. High blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, etc. Every visit, John would come in and complain, and every visit, the doctor would lay out the facts, the numbers, the dangers, and yet nothing ever happened. Month after month, year after year, John maintained his unhealthy lifestyle. But then something did change. John went into the doctor for his annual visit, and as usual, he was lamenting about his aches and pains. But this time, the doctor cut him off. "John, how old is your daughter?" So John, of course, was caught off guard for a minute, and then he smiled. He said, "Melody, the light of my life. She's 6 years old." And the doctor shook his head, and he said, "You know, John, if you don't change your lifestyle when Melody is getting married, you won't be the man walking her down the aisle." Bam! That was it. John was moved by an image, a possibility of a future he didn't want. In that moment, he felt the significance of his behavior in a way that logic could never convey. The elephant had been awoken, and from that day on, John's health wasn't just a goal, it was a mission for him. His desire to be there for his daughter fueled his actions. It lit a fire that logic alone could never spark. Motivation, inspiration, grit, they're rarely fueled by pure logic. They're about emotion. Even if logic can start the movement, it's emotion that will sustain it. The bottom line's this: when you have something or someone to inspire, to change, or to persuade, get to the heart of the matter. Start with the elephant, and then, and only then, speak to the writer.